Looking for the best astrology guidance? You can enjoy an entire month of personalized astrology services for just $3.99. At Serious Joy, we pride ourselves on providing astrology enthusiasts with exactly what they're looking for. Daily personalized inspiration that speaks directly to the heart. Sign up today and you'll receive personalized messages straight to your phone 7 days a week. And that's just half of it. You'll also get access to our exclusive members-only site with tons of amazing features. Experience the most accurate astrology service on the web at seriousjoy.com.
Hello, my friends and fellow love walkers out there. Welcome to Namaste Today Live. I am Christopher Witecki, Sensei Christopher Witecki here. Such a pleasure to be live and streaming with you. And considering the day, we have to do our famous song, It's Friday, it's fun at Friday. And it's becoming a Friday tradition now, going live here with Namaste Today Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. We're streaming live on multiple platforms right now. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, all profiles everywhere, and uniting all of us into one great chat room. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We are in a very interesting time right now, consciously. So many things going on. We're going to talk about the planets today. We're going to talk about what you can expect. We're going to talk about the Venus retrograde we have coming up. And I'd like to welcome everyone here onto the show. We have live chatters going on. Let me just bring them on real quick for fun so we can say hi to everyone. Hello, Natalie Humble. Hello, NT King. Hello, Sandy D. Hello, Rachie. I love it. Hello. Hello, Bree. So nice to see you. Hello, Wendy. Hello, Holly. And be sure to say hello to everyone else out there, folks. We are a community of light and love. And I got to tell you, like I said in the very first show, one thing about me is I attract the most amazing viewers on earth. Everyone is so kind-hearted. They're so in their heart. So be sure to reach out and say hi and make friends while you can here. We have a great community. It's so nice to see everyone. And this is going to be our official date, by the way. This time is really starting to work out. I'm actually live right now. So there's things that I have to do sometimes when I'm live. And one is start the darn time clock. I always do that. Here we go. And yeah, just a disclaimer here. We are live. So there's a couple of things we had hicking up today. I had a couple hiccups. So I'm going to probably take a moment to do a couple things during the show. But hey, that's just the way it's going to be now. That is how we're going to stream and roll. So thanks, everyone. So nice seeing everyone here. It's a pleasure. We are upon a very magical time right now. And before I dive into the show and everything, I do want to make our official announcements that I like to make. And this has to do with the 40 days of self-love. If you're not familiar, Serious Joy is doing what we call the 40 days of self-love. Here we go. Wrong. There we go. Wrong slide. Sorry about that. Let's undo that. We have the code up in the upper left-hand corner. Okay, that's seriousjoy.com's code. We are doing at Serious Joy what we call the 40 days of self-love. I just want to talk about that real quick at the head of the show so people know. We will go live with this program when we hit the Venus retrograde or 0 degrees, which is going to be Saturday night, Sunday morning. Basically, you wake up to step 0. And what this is if you're not familiar with what I do, I found out early on in my career that if you carry an intention through the entire course of Leo and into the very beginning of Virgo, that intention will manifest. And that's due to the law of attraction and action, that what we be is what comes. And so what we do at Serious Joy is for 40 days, we focus on getting into the core of our heart and holding loving space for what I call the Golden Egg Project or the Golden Age, which is basically your personal dreams coming true. And we do this every year. This is like the 5th year we've done it. I've had testimonials from customers who've gotten mortgages approved, who found the love of their life, who manifested a new car, who came up with the idea for what they want to do for their next career. This shift really works, folks, if you hold it out. And with Serious Joy, what we do is we have our entire practitioner team that all assembles around this structure for 40 days, where we're all working to help you manifest this. Now, what makes this year super different and important is that we have Venus retrograding at the exact same time as the 40 days of self-love. It's technically 42 days of self-love, and it's technically a 42, 43-day Venus retrograde, just to be very specific. It goes until September 3rd. And I believe, and I'll talk more about this in the show, that this is a well, first of all, the most unique event I've ever experienced as far as over the Leo transition. We've never had a Venus retrograde only in the course of Leo in our lifetime. The last time it was only in Leo was 1812, and the time before that was 1722. So it's very rare. And what I believe is happening is the entire world, every person on the planet is going through a change of heart about what their heart really wants to manifest and intends to manifest. So what's interesting is this is going to be the first 40 days of self-love where we have the scissor effect, where the sun is moving forward as Venus is moving backwards. They will Kazemi at step 20, by the way, which is the magical point in which they will manifest. And so in this 40 days of self-love, we're actually doing 2 programs. We're doing one conscious program about coming into your heart and holding space for what your heart wants. We're doing another conscious program at the same time for the Venus retrograde, where you are journaling little prompt questions each day to help you release your old heart attachments, release your old heartache, release your old love stories. So there's a release fashion that happens in the first part of Venus retrograde, and then coming into the new vision, and then coming into what our daily life requires for us to do that, all the way back to where Venus will station retrograde at step 12, which is us journaling and figuring out how to believe in this new notion. So this 40 days of self-love will be really dynamic. And if you are tired of the boredom in your life, if your heart is not inspired, if you haven't manifested the love of your life, if you haven't manifested your personal dreams, if you haven't been able to do what your heart enjoys, if you're lost, if you don't know what your heart wants, well, then you are an excellent candidate for this program. And of course, I'll be talking to it week after week here on YouTube, so it's not like I won't, but it's not the same as having daily guidance. Now, with that said, I want to outline just a little bit of what we're doing in a bit more detail. And I'm flipping around screens here. By the way, we do know that we have a slight little lag issue, and we're working on that. So pardon that. We had that last week. It might happen again this week. We're sort of figuring out what's causing that. And please do let me know. We'll get some moderators on this chat room. I haven't got moderators yet. But once we do, we'll have moderators to sort of report things. But in the meantime, y'all have to let me know if sound goes out or something looks wonky or whatever. So just let me know. All right, so back to the 40 days of self-love. I just want to talk about what we're going to be doing. Our Archangel reader, Devin Dewar, she's an intuitive reader. She's actually going to be prompting with special prayers to Archangel Raziel for these 40 days. Raziel is actually the archangel that's responsible for your heart's legacy, what your heart signed up to do and where your heart signed up to shine. In my personal readings, I actually connect to Archangel Raziel, and Raziel is the one who always tells me the story and the past life stories of my clients. So I always learn about past lives through Raziel. It took until it was my mid 40s before I actually realized who I was talking to. And that was from an angel reader that I had at the time that said, "You're talking to Raziel, by the way." I had no idea. I didn't even know who Raziel was at that point, actually. It's pretty intense, but I had so many amazing affirmations about it that I have no doubts. So when I was meeting with Devin, who is our angel intuitive reader, we talked about how we're going to help our subscribers connect to Raziel, how to identify that you are connecting, how to identify that the visions are accurate. And we're having what we call an astro dynamic, which on Monday of this coming week, if you're a subscriber in the daily pep talk, you're going to hear where Archangel Raziel plays in your chart. So we're going to talk about where Archangel Raziel is working with you. And that's based on your natal chart information. We're also at the same time for the full 40 days, we're going to do heart chakra healing with Kristen Ryder. She's our sound healer here at Serious Joy, and she's going to be working on several chapters of the heart activation. The first 9 days, and the sound baths will be based on clearing heartaches and wounds. So you tune into that. The great thing with Kristen is all you have to do is listen and go with the flow of the energy. So Kristen has a special program. She'll then be working to activate our heart chakra and also helping us to search our heart for what our heart really wants. Robbie Hunt, who is our metaphysical minister and astrologer at Serious Joy, she's going to be giving some mini lectures on the metaphysics of self-love. So what the metaphysical vibrational energy is of self and is of love and is of these different concepts that we're diving into. And she'll be doing that on weekend specials through this next 6 weeks. Then we will also have daily summaries, and all of our journal prompts will be provided by Heather Exposito. She is our lead writer at Serious Joy. She'll be helping us to just summarize what the goals are. And then yours truly, I will be doing Venus retrograde coaching each day. So each day, I'm going to give our subscribers a little blog to write a question to answer in your journal, which is targeting the Venus retrograde degree and other elements of the planet. So the goal here is that we actually work with the energies of the planets and we prompt according to that. And then the other thing I'm doing is heart chakra telepathy, which basically is a telepathy game. If you don't know, at Serious Joy, we have a telepathy game every day of the week where we practice our psychic abilities and we practice our telepathy. But during this 40 days, we're going to do a heart chakra based telepathy, which means we're going to do telepathy that is based on talking to our heart, identifying our heart's voice, and starting to communicate from the heart, which also is, I think, the speaker from heaven. And I talked about that just recently, recording a pep talk, that our heart, let's just say it right now. I'll just say it again. I believe that our heart chakra is where we channel God consciousness through. I believe that God consciousness is pure awareness in heaven, but then on earth, it gets channeled, that message gets channeled through our heart, and it experiences as love. So when we feel love, we are feeling actual God consciousness energy, pure creation energy through our heart. And part of the problem that's happened over the centuries is we become very mind-centric with the age of reason and the age of science and going into logic. And we saw, church and science separate. We also found that our mental capacities became dominant in our awareness and our heartfelt capacity became subordinate. And the mind has been controlling the heart for at least, I'd say, 300 or 400 years here on earth, not to mention ego. Ego is another state of awareness that gets in the way. So I believe that we need to go back to our heart and go back to the center of our heart and allow it to be the speaker of our manifestation and the core of our power. So our heart chakra telepathy game is going to be completely focused around connecting to the heart and being able to listen to your heart. And one of the aspects of the heart is it's connected to the whole collective consciousness. So if you can learn how to listen to your heart, and I mean on a very deep level, you can actually listen to the heart of others, and you can also coordinate what you are doing with the rest of the collective. So in other words, if your heart says yes to something, it's not only good for you, it's good for the world. And I think that's the key to enlightenment for all of humankind, is for us to become heart-based and heart-centric. But listening to the heart is not easy. It took me a long time to decipher my heart's voice from my intellectual voice in my mind, from my ego's voice, from my emotional energy. So for 40 days, we'll be working specifically on heart communication in our telepathy game. Each week, it's going to get more and more intense as far as the training is concerned. And for those of you who have always wanted to be psychic or find your psychic ability, this is a great intensive this next 40 days to build your psychic awareness. So it's a whole coordinated team that we have going on. Archangel Raziel, heart chakra clearing, metaphysical lectures, daily summaries and journal prompts, and of course the 40 days of self-love program. It for the first 30 days, if you've never been a subscriber, it's just $3.99 to sign up, and then there's 10 more days into the next month if you decide to stick around. Everyone who goes through this says it's a life-changing event, and I believe this year, because of the Venus retrograde and because of all the other planets going on, which we're going to talk about in today's show, I think this year is probably the most powerful Leo season of our entire lives. And that will be true whether or not you take advantage of it and be proactive in the 40 days of self-love, or if you just live it as watching on YouTube. Either way, it's going to change your life. But if you're in a place where you're ready to change your life for the better and get your life on the course of your personal dreams and the life you were born to live, highly recommend it. Give it a try. Give us a try. We're amazing as a team, and we're just coming gelled together so well for this particular project. We have more things coming up too, but I'm not going to tease them just yet. All right. So that is that. I'm just looking for something to be posted by one of my associates. We have a last minute edit on the Zodiac weather. So I might move things around a little bit today and do the planets in transit segment, and then do the Zodiac weather and then go into the tea time segment. So we're going to be a little bit around, we're going to move things around. Okay. So good to see everyone. Someone's asking how you find the app. We're completely a website-based business. We have not developed our app yet for many reasons, mostly that we want to be independent of the app stores so we can do certain technologies that no one else has. We will be developing a smart app, but right now we work completely through a website. So that's a website on your smartphone or a website on your browser. Daily content, daily pep talks, and this whole curriculum. It's at seriousbjoy.com for just $3.99. And be sure to have all of your natal data ready when you sign up, your time of birth, your date of birth, and city and state of birth. Okay, excellent. So thank you for indulging me in that. It's so nice to be here with everyone. Hope you're having a good week. We have been in the sun in Cancer. Let's go ahead and as I'm waiting for my Zodiac weather video, let's move on to partly what's going on this week. Let's first summarize real quickly where we have been with the sun in Cancer, because we are literally here in the next 24 hours, wrapping up the sun in Cancer. This entire year of 2023, the 40-day event starts. You have to sign up. It's another question. I just have it coming in. You need to sign up in the next 24 hours because it begins Sunday morning in the United States. Sunday morning is when it begins. So you sign up and you do it every day for 40 days. So sign up today, set up tomorrow, and you'll be everything will just automatically play. It's all in the timeline every day. Plus we have a ton of helping agents there on the site. So going to the sun in Cancer. So nice to see everyone. I keep seeing the comments and I love it. We as a society this year are in a very important year from what I can tell. I think you can tell it's been building since, the pandemic. We all know that. As far as the tension in the world is concerned, we certainly are seeing tension when it comes to supply chains and, China and Russia and, competing economic systems and inflation. We can see things are heating up and brewing up. And in the big picture of things, what's happening, in my opinion, is we are now putting down our karma stories. So stories that we were born with, that we were facing and struggling with, and we're moving on to what I call the story we were born to live. That's the big picture of what's happening. And in the last year, we were separating. In 2022, we were separating those two stories because they were very much intertwined and entangled. And so far in 2023, as of Saturn moving into Pisces in March, we are now officially overcoming our karma and stepping away from our karma and stepping toward what I call the story we were born to live, which is a destined story that we've had, since our heaven planning with the angels before we came down. That's the big picture of it. So we really, in May, and the new moon in May and the lunar eclipse in May, we separated with that lunar eclipse the boundaries necessary, and we held sort of space for what this new story is going to be. And then in June, we started plan and strategize through that story. And now that brings us to July, where we are upgrading our emotional care and our home, family, and foundation, what I call getting the castle in order. And this is to create the proper emotional foundation so that we are well cared for and nurtured when we go into the transition. Now, the transition is going to be pretty radical, I believe. And this is represented by the North Node in Aries. And up until this moment, as of this week, we've been holding space. So today, as I am live streaming right now, we're at step 28 Cancer, and we are literally manifesting today. Today is this new home family foundation that we are manifesting. And I see stuff has shown up here. The weather plate has shown up, so we'll have it here. Okay, great. Thanks to my crew for doing that. And since we're live, just hang on. We're going to do something here. We are doing a bunch of things. Okay, it's still downloading. All right. So that brings us really to this particular week. Today, we're manifesting. So just to sort of play out the next 24 hours to give you sort of the bigger picture of things. Today, we're holding space for that new home family foundation to come together. And Home Family Foundation, I've talked about in the last two shows, so I'm not going to go back over what I've talked about in the other shows as a means of sort of thinning out the content just a little bit, because we're still running a little long. I'm not really anticipating 2 hours like it has been, but we're getting on our way. Excuse me. But we in this 24 hours are grounding our emotional foundation. And tomorrow on Saturn Day, this is going to be probably one of the most intense days that we have experienced maybe in a year or so, because the sun is going to oppose Pluto, which I'm going to talk. Found the mute button there. The sun is going to oppose Pluto. And so in this first 24 hours, starting tonight, actually, you may feel a lot of tension and anxiety because the sun opposing Pluto means that there's a tug of war going on, a grand square going on. I'm going to show the chart a little bit later in the show, but there's a grand square going on where we are feeling the pull to change our power structures on Earth, but to also maintain our comfort and maintain our security. But at the same time, this is squaring the nodes, the North Node at 29. So this pull and this feeling that we have to do something now, and the South Node in Libra that we have to let go of certain associations. Now, I believe what that's going to feel like is ultimately sort of tension going on. So you may feel some intense tension happening here in the next 24, 36 hours, because we're ultimately, I think, feeling the pressures of change. I also would not be surprised if we don't have some sort of geological event also, because the gravity is pretty intense. Now, the nodes are a conscious stream of energy. They're not actual planets, so there's not gravity there, but there is forces at work. But usually when we have something this intense to the 29th degree, usually there's some sort of shakeup somewhere. So wouldn't be surprised if we hear of an earthquake or a volcano or something like that that happens in the next 24. And so this next 24 hours is the final test of your ability to stay grounded and stay calm and stay nurtured. And that's what you want to be mindful of here in this next 24 hours, that it's time to address and apply everything you learned in the last 30 days of the sun in Cancer, to not allow any news or any national news or any conflicts that you feel to disrupt your emotional foundation and groundedness. That's the next 24 hours. And then from there, the sun moves into Leo tomorrow night on Saturday night, and Venus will retrograde tomorrow night on Saturday night. Now, that is sort of the gross big picture introduction. I see our zodiac weather is now ready for play. So let's roll the zodiac weather forecast for the next 7 days, and I'll come back and we'll do the planets and transits. Oh, there you go. So incorrect. That did not play like I wanted. So it's now, okay, gotcha. It looks like it's just not going to happen, because we've hit a limit here, it looks like, on our weather plate. Yeah, too bad. So I'll tell you what's going to happen, folks. I'm going to improvise here. I will post the zodiac weather as a separate file after this show, because it looks like we just ran into a tech issue that we didn't realize existed. It was output a little bit too big. All right, bummer on that, but I will walk you through the week with the zodiac weather video file after the show. So look for it to be uploaded on YouTube. And we'll also upload it as a regular basis on YouTube as well. All right. Well, we're just going to roll here with these punches. So on to our planets and transits. Let's talk about the planets and transits. And I'm going to turn on the comments too, so I can see what's going on. There we go. All righty. Yeah, we'll get this down. All right. So the week that we are living here, this is going to go into the summary of the week. This week is from Saturday, July 22nd. So technically it goes from Saturday to Friday now. So from Saturday, July 22nd to Friday, July 28th. That's the week that we're talking about. This week, which starts Saturday night with the sun in Leo, we are moving through the first 6 degrees of Leo. We go from step 29 Cancer on Saturday, which is going to be the test of faith and the test of staying grounded with the grand square in the North Node, all the way to 6 degrees Leo. Now, 6 degrees Leo, which is the degree that'll be next Saturday, technically 5 to 6 on Friday. This is the degree of our relationship to ourself. So this first week of Leo, I'm coining it falling in love with myself, falling in love with myself. This And this comes down to us in these first degrees. What we're doing in the early degrees of Leo always is we're getting to the core of our heart's relationship to ourself. So this is your relationship to your inner child inside. This is your relationship to your fun and creative self. This is our playful self. This is quite often our most innocent self, and quite often our most tender and most damaged self. So because of the Venus retrograde, the force of gravity is going backwards in the sky, which means that instead of looking outward with our heart, when Venus is normally in Leo, we're looking outward in the world for love, personal dreams, adventure, creative projects, heartfelt associations. But during this Leo transit, Venus stations retrograde Saturday night as soon as the sun goes into Leo. In fact, I can't remember which one it is. I do remember now. Venus goes retrograde literally 7 minutes before the sun goes into Leo. It's about 7 minutes. It's 1 minute astrologically. It's about 7 minutes on the clock. So pretty profound, the timing and the coordination of these two. But because Venus is going retrograde this year, our heart is not opening up to the world. Our heart is opening up to ourselves. And so as a result, I believe that we are going to look deeper into our heart because Venus is retrograding the same time the sun is in Leo and Venus is going backwards, so into our heart. I believe we're going to tour the depths of our heart deeper than we ever have in our entire life. Like I said, we have never experienced in our lifetime a Venus retrograde that was exclusively in Leo. We have never in this entire lifetime, no matter how old you are on the planet, you've not experienced it. So this next week may be somewhat painful in the sense that if you have a wound in your heart that you haven't gotten over, let's say it's the one who got away, or God forbid you've lost somebody in your life who's passed away and crossed over that your heart was cared, close to. If you have never really addressed your childhood damage and the things that have hurt you, or if you have swept some sort of heartfelt issue under the rug and not paid attention to it, I believe and predict that in these first 6 degrees, these core heartaches could come to the surface. What does that mean? It means that you're probably going to have a session of crying or feeling low or feeling heavy. We'll talk about where the moon is. The moon, well, we'll talk about right now. The moon at the same time as the sun is going through these early degrees of Leo, which is the deepest chambers of your heart chakra, the moon moves through Libra, then Scorpio, and then Sagittarius. Now, this is another reason why I think this week is going to be extremely, really, it's going to be a healing week, but you have to, it's sort of like coughing up phlegm. It's like you're going to have to cough up the pain or the memories or the issues that your heart has been harboring and not wanting to heal over. And the only way to dismiss it is to experience it. So when the moon is in Libra, which is basically from Sunday until late Tuesday, that is one of the most open energies there is. Libra, Venus rules Libra. Libra is Venus. So we are extremely tender and open on Sunday, Monday, and most of Tuesday, just because we have Venus retrograde, we have the sun in the core chambers of our heart, and we have an emotional path that is very, very sensitive and delicate. So in fact, I predict Tuesday to be the most difficult day of the week emotionally. So, if you have an issue, you might want to have a tissue. You might want to have a box of Kleenex on Tuesday. And you may want to put off something like, I wouldn't, if you have to speak public, I don't know. I'm a person that actually, when I have to do something professional, I can actually, swallow it and not go there. So sometimes being responsible is a way to sort of not go through the heaviness of it. But yeah, I just want you to know you're not crazy. We're being encouraged to bring up some of these core pain heartbreaks. Now, then the moon moves into Scorpio Tuesday night. And that's at that point, if you know Scorpio moons, it is all or nothing. So at that point, we get to the bone of the issue. So Tuesday night, Wednesday, and Thursday, we hit the bone. The knife hits the bone. So you get to the core of whatever that wound is. Now, That wound may be, by the way, loneliness. Like, I'm lonely. I'm tired of being alone. This is the week where people are going to realize that their heart does have some issues, or that they're not happy. This is always the week where you realize every year that you're not happy with something. I'm not happy with my job. I'm not happy with my partner. I'm not happy with the work I've been doing. And it's because we're so in touch with our heart. We can feel our heart in Leo. So, through the rest of the year, we're so busy, we don't pay attention, or we think it's going to change, but it just suddenly comes super heavy. The image I like to use for this period of Leo is the old story of the lion with the thorn in its paw, right? Where the lion can't get the thorn out and the lion is crying. And of course, the mouse comes and helps the lion, which is a beautiful little story. In this case, we're helping ourselves. But this is where we sort of cry over the fact that the lion cries over the fact that it's been hurt. It's not happy. And like I said, I think this year is a life-changing year as far as our heart chakra and our heart's health. So, so it's quite possible that it will be pretty intense. Thursday is the second most difficult day of the week because step 4 rules the day. So this is also an tissue day, where you want to have tissues around because the moon's in Scorpio, the sun's at step 4, and Mercury actually conjoins Venus. So our mind is very aware of what our heart wishes we could have, but we don't necessarily have it. Then the moon moves into Sag on Friday and Saturday. So our story begins to change. So we sort of start licking our paw or licking our wounds on Friday when we start to realize that just because we have had this pain or we have had this discomfort, we don't have to keep having it going forward. So we realize, I think, by Friday. So this full week is, we're falling back in love with ourselves. And what that means, when I say falling in love with ourselves, I mean we are realizing that we have to love ourselves, that self-love is vital and is important in life. Now, simultaneously going on as the sun is in Leo, and I'll show you this with a chart or two, we have Black Moon Lilith and Mercury in Leo. Mercury goes from step 21 to step 29 Leo. Black Moon Lilith goes from 21 to 22 Leo. Mercury and Black Moon Lilith actually conjoin in the very beginning of the week as we start off the week. And Black Moon Lilith, if you don't know, is our history of trauma and pain and fear. And Black Moon Lilith is at 21, 22 Leo. So while we're addressing our own inner child's wounds, we're also processing where our heart has failed in the outer world. So it's a double dose of agony, all right, in that sense. On the one hand, we're feeling our heart and our inner child and our disappointment and our pain. On the other hand, we're facing with Mercury and Venus retrograde at the high degrees. Venus is at 28 degrees the entire week. We're facing all the things in the world that our heart was not capable of achieving so far. So, you might have a replay of the one who got away, or the creative project that lost its funding and you weren't able to, do what your heart wanted. And mentally thinking about how our heart has not really manifested in the world what we want yet. Now, even if you have manifested, for instance, my heart's very happy. I have manifested Serious Joy, the service, and I've manifested, this YouTube channel for 17 years. So I have a lot of successes that I'm happy about, but still I'm like, oh, that's not all my heart wanted. There's so much more my heart wanted. So for those who are on the master path, and that's something that we're now starting to discuss at Serious Joy, that there's a level of people who are just getting started with this heart chakra healing. And there's another level of people who've been at it for a while and who are now ready to really knock it out of the park. So for those who are on the master path, this is us saying, you know what, I'm happy with what I've manifested so far, but I want something different, or I want something greater, or I want something higher. So if you're not processing, losses of the heart in the world, you're processing wishes of the heart in the world. And really, we're processing all. For those people who've had loss and have had pain and hurt, we have to clear that pain out. But with Venus at 28 degrees and retrograding 28 degrees to 27 by the end of the week, I think she hits 27. I believe she hits 27 on Saturday. I'll have to look at the charts when we do it live here. regardless of whether or not you have some sort of loss to process, everyone is thinking, what's next? What does my heart want next? What do I really want in this life? And some people are having a midlife crisis where they're like, I haven't had anything I want in my life, and now it's time to have what I want. Some people are just setting out. They're going through their Saturn return at age 30, and they're realizing that it's what do I want to do? It's time to get serious about life. It's time to create something that I'm proud of. So the big picture of this week, as far as the sun is concerned, is that we are exploring the depths of our own inner child, and we're also exploring fears, trauma, and losses that we've experienced in the outer world, and starting to question, well, what is it that I want to manifest? And that's going to be where the focus of our questions are this week in 40 Days of Self-Love. I'm going to be guiding our subscribers through what to think about as far as visualizing what that golden egg project is going to be, or that golden age is going to feel like. And we'll be giving clues for that. Now, while the sun is in Leo, the earth is in Aquarius. So the key question of the week, and this is something I'm putting out for everyone, the key question for the week is, what do I have to detach from? What do I have to detach from? Okay. And that's what Aquarius is about. Aquarius is about attach and detach. First you detach, then you attach. This is also known as breakdown, breakthrough. Breakdown is the detachment from something, and breakthrough is the new attachment to something. And when we say attachment, we talk about belonging. So the background story going on with the earth in Aquarius is, where do I belong? If you don't belong associated with certain people that bring you down or make your heart hurt, then you're going to detach. What we're going to detach from this week is we're going to detach from certain policies inside of our heart. So, for instance, here's a policy that I've always had that I've changed now. I used to have the policy to finish my vegetables before I ate my dessert. So I had this policy where I didn't let my heart enjoy anything until I was done. Now, the problem with that is that I was never freaking done. Okay. The slave driver in me would completely add more things. And so I was detached from any joy and attached to only the work as a means of motivating myself to get myself to do what I wanted myself to do. What I realized, particularly in the breakdown that I had in the last year, which someone asked about that. I'm not quite ready to share all the details with that yet, but it was a major breakdown, but it did lead to a breakthrough. One of my takeaways was, I've been doing nothing but working for 17 years, trying to help the world. And also is my passion. I'm not like saying that I've been some big sacrifice. I was doing it because I loved it, but I haven't been enjoying life enough along the way. That's what I realized. I just haven't. So for me, I am now detaching from this idea that I have to wait to have my dessert, and I'm attaching my heart to the idea that I'm going to enjoy the process. I'm going to enjoy each step of the way. And that's an example in my personal life where I am attaching and detaching. I'm detaching from this old heart policy, and I'm attaching to a new heart policy. But I think the detach will be the biggest conversation we have. So where must I detach? What do I detach? Detach from having to be perfect. Detach from having to have the answers right away. Detach from having to have recognition. I can just recognize myself. Why do I need someone else to recognize me? I can just recognize myself. And so constantly, if you find yourself stuck this week, especially with your pain, and pain is coming up, well, what must I detach from? And maybe I need to detach from this old story I used to tell myself. It was good while it lasted, but I'm not going to tell myself that story anymore. So where do I detach? Now, another theme of the week, we're talking planets and transits, has to do with the fact that as I spoke to this earlier, the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. All right. And this is where we get the subtitle of this week. And the subtitle of the week is Keeping Excalibur in Sight. Keeping Excalibur in Sight. Now, for those of you who are not aware, we've been using the King Arthur theme as part of this year. It's a beautiful story of a democratic royal monarch that tried to bring Great Britain together. I personally believe King Arthur did live. I've studied with this historian that talked about it. And I think that's why it's all in our conscious collective memory. And if you know the story, King Arthur had a magical sword called Excalibur. And one of the reasons why he knew he was chosen to be king was that he pulled Excalibur from the stone. My astrological team at Serious Joy, we all believe that we pulled Excalibur from the stone on the solar eclipse at 29 degrees Aries in April. We had a solar eclipse at 29 degrees. That solar eclipse, if you don't know how a solar eclipse works, it sort of endows the energy with a blast of consciousness that stays lit in our awareness until the next eclipse. So what is lit in our awareness is Excalibur, our sword. 29-degree Aries is the sword wielding moment. What does that mean in practical reality, Sensei? It means that Excalibur, in my opinion, is your talent. That's what your sword is. Your magical sword is your talent. Everyone has a talent. Everyone has a gift. Everyone has different gifts. And I've met all walks of life. I've met all walks of IQ. I've met all walks of EQ, emotional intelligence. And even the youngest child of age 6 who's had no chance to develop, in any of the curricular senses of things will be very talented at something, that child. We all have our talent. Our talent is where we are special. It's based on what we have worked on in past lives, in my opinion. It is what you are here to do. And your talent is what cuts through the BS. When you stand in your talent and you stand in your abilities, this is your sword of Excalibur. So when I say you must keep Excalibur in sight this week, what I am saying is, as you are going through the legitimate boo-hoos of the heart, so like when you find yourself crying on Tuesday and Thursday, your sword is to remember why you're special. And I'll be reminding our subscribers of this. I just got goosebumps. I think that's Raziel now. Your sword is to remind yourself of why you're special, and everyone is special. And the world doesn't need to see it. You need to know it. And with the North Node at 29, pointing to that solar eclipse at 29, the universe is saying, with the square, we have this square between the nodes and Pluto and the sun in the beginning. And the sun stays in that square, in that orb of Pluto for the first really 6 days, really. It'll be most intense on Saturday, tomorrow, in the next 24 hours. You feel this pressure of, will I be okay? The sun in Cancer and Leo, will I be okay? Asks the heart. The sun is the heart, by the way. So will I be okay? Will the world even be here? Pluto retrograde in Capricorn at 29 degrees. Will we really even, will the governments collapse? Will the economy collapse? Will the water supply collapse? Will the food supply collapse? These are all Pluto Capricorn conversations that we're having right now, and legitimate ones. And then the solution with the nodes is, well, the North Node at Aries at 29, be prepared to wield that sword. Be prepared to stand and use your talent. Keep your talent on the back burner, ready to go at a Minuteman's notice, so to speak. The Minuteman, a member of American Revolution, that was the ones who said that it's Paul Revere, although it wasn't Paul Revere that did the full ride. That's another whole story. Now, the South Node in Libra says, as you are keeping Excalibur in sight, to be prepared to move away from relationships that don't serve you. So I will say, one of the things about this Venus retrograde in the sun in Leo is God is officially saying with the South Node in Libra, it's time to leave toxic relationships. It's time to leave toxic relationships. If you don't do it now, you may not ever, okay? And the only reason why we stay stuck in toxic relationships is because we're not loving ourselves enough. And we're feeling that we need this person or this situation to survive. And what the North Node in Aries is saying, no, all you need is your talent to survive. That's all you need. Your God-given natal talents that you were born with. You will find someone else that's aligned with your purpose eventually. I think society is going to do a sort of dance. I think we're all going to be meeting each other. One of the reasons why I am going to start doing little mini interviews at the end of this show is to introduce the world to different people that I know, to different light workers that I know, because it's now time to form the new communities. These communities that we're going to be forming, I believe, will be with us for about 18 years. So we've just ended one 18-year cycle of a community. Not everyone will leave your community. Some people are there for a lifetime. That's the nature of the soul contract. But you know, and what's interesting is I'm having people from 18 years ago. I've reunited from people that I was working with 18 years ago when I started Soul Guard. I've reunited with these people now that we've come full circle. So it's funny how that happens also. But the keeping Excalibur in sight is basically saying there's this whole theme of the week where when you feel down, if you find yourself boohooing, if you find yourself sad, and you find yourself alone, that's okay right now. With the North Node in Aries, you may stand alone with yourself until you find your people. But I do believe we will find each other. And I do believe that we are going to come to a new coming together as well. And I believe it's a unity consciousness, which means I believe it will be diverse. And I'm going off on a tangent here, but I think it needs to be said. I think we're going to find ourselves in groups with Republicans and Democrats talking, like with, you know, old and young talking, with a variety of racial backgrounds talking. We have been separating ourselves. And now I believe that we are going to be united by principle and not by the old world demographics. And when I say old world, I mean, since Neptune has been in Pisces in the 1860s, that was the last karmic cycle, we have been very much divided by race. We had a civil war over race here in the United States. We've been divided by economic and social class. We have completely divided and splintered off. And that was necessary for us to see our uniqueness and to find our individuality. But now it's time to come together according to common spiritual principles. And you may ask, where am I getting this? From Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. That's where I'm getting it. Saturn in Pisces says it's time to base authority, Saturn, around spiritual principles, Pisces. That's what brings us together, is like spirits. So these are kindred spiritual relationships. So with the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra, we are moving away from the old splintered off demographics, and we're coming into our new character, North Node in Aries, and with spiritual principles, aligning by spiritual principles, which is Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. By the way, thank you for all the advice people have given me on throat chakra stuff and my throat. I actually had no throat issues until today. All week I wasn't clearing my throat, so I think it's partly spiritual when it happened. All righty. Okay, those are two major themes. Another major theme, we have the square to Pluto going on. And Pluto goes from 29 to 28 Capricorn and goes to 28 Capricorn on Friday next week. So when I go live next week, it'll be on 28 Capricorn. The world is presenting all sorts of crises right now. And, you know, I've seen Senate hearings this week with Pluto at 29 about free speech. You know, we see a lot of stuff out there. The world will be sort of in a crisis place until the end of the week. And then we're going to find that we're going to start having a lot of conversation or thoughts about, well, what does the new world need to look like? So I think we're going to shift from crisis to, well, what is the solution, which is great. And that'll happen by the end of the week. So my point is that the world may feel like the sky is falling all week long. You may feel that way. And that, I think, is part of God's intention. From what I can tell, looking at this yod, which I'll point out when I do the charts, I'm reading comments. I get dragged into comments like, oh, I want to start reading. It's like, oh, wait, you have to be on. What God Universe seems to be saying with this yod, we have a yod going from Pluto and Neptune to Venus at 28 retro. And the way I interpret that is, and I've been talking about this to my subscribers on Serious Joy, is God is saying with Pluto at 29, hey, I know you're concerned about the world being able to hold itself together, Pluto at 29 Capricorn, and corruption of power and people abusive power, all that is Pluto Capricorn. And we're meant to be facing that. The Neptune at 27 Pisces retrograde is another force saying, I know there's something greater in this life I'm meant to be. I know this can't be it. This can't be what it's all about. There's got to be more to my story. And I hear that over and over again from everyone that I talk to and meet in person. And Neptune at 27 is saying, yes, there is something more to your story. And Neptune squaring this, the galactic center at 27 Sag is saying, yes, there is something more to your story. So this yod between Pluto and Neptune, pointing up to Venus at 28 retrograde Leo, is, I believe, God saying, take your worries about world power, take your call to destiny, and go and create, my child. Go and create something fantastic. Go and manifest something from your heart. So the planets are saying, don't worry about the world. Don't worry about your destiny. Worry about what you're going to create, what you're going to manifest. And that could be, this is what I call the Golden Egg Project. That could be that you're going to create a happy family, so you end dysfunction for the rest of your generations. That could be that you're going to create some sort of an art project. That could be you're going to create a service like Serious Joy of your own, where you're focusing on your own talent and your and the gifts that you have. It's ultimately going to be that we create from our sword, because Venus at 28 is trining the North Node, which is Excalibur. So Venus is trining Excalibur. It's trining that solar eclipse point. It's trining the nodes, which says we are here to create with our talent. We're here to create with Excalibur. We're here to create with our God-given gifts and make the world a better place. So what the planets are saying is, don't try to change the world by putting your hands on it. Change the world by creating the world you want to live in. That is the message I keep seeing over and over in the planets. And this week, that is what we want to say to ourselves. When we're feeling bad and we're boohooing about our pain, which I'm saying with joy, my boohoos. I have a Leo rising and Leo moon, so I can boohoo like no other. And I can be happy like no other too. But when you're going through that cathartic process that you have to go through of looking at the suns on the spots on the sun, and that's what I look at heartache. The sun is this glowing, amazing energy, but it does have these little black spots called sunspots. And every black spot on the sun is a pain that the sun has gone through. It's a wound the sun has gone through, or it's a wound our heart has gone through. So we all shine bright, but we do have these spots. And I think we're going to be facing those spots, like I said, this week, and maybe deeper than we ever have, getting to the core of what's under that spot. But as you're finding all this process, there is a rainbow at the end of this storm. There's a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. And what it is that that we're going to take these experiences of the heart and we're going to create something magnificent with it. And that is where the planets are pointing us. Now, there's a couple other little aspects I want to talk about, and then we'll go into our tea time and our all 12 signs and look at our chart. One is that reality goes a little nuclear this week. And you might go, what? No, I'm not talking about nuclear war. I'm talking about Uranus. Jupiter and Uranus are both in Taurus. Jupiter is where God is investing the most energy right now. That's always, Jupiter's the largest planet in the solar system. There's like 200 Earths can fit into Jupiter, or is it 2,000? I can't remember now. I know that the red spot on Jupiter is as big as the Earth. Just to give you an idea. So that red spot is as big as the Earth. But Jupiter in a sign means that all of our conscious investment is going into this. Jupiter starts the week at Grandmaster step 12 and then moves to 13, and it moves to 13 on Tuesday. All right. So what that means is Jupiter will be at 13 while Uranus is at 22. Anything that adds to a 4 is multidimensional. And that is ultimately the rabbit hole. So I'm expecting and predicting that from Tuesday onward, you might have out-of-body experiences. You might be in two places at once. You might be sort of time traveling in your head. Ultimately, what we're doing is when we have those kind of planets, Uranus, the ruler of 22, Uranus, the ruler of 4 is the door. So we have Uranus, which is the controller of multidimensionality. So it is the controller of the multiverse, if you're familiar with the multiverse terminology, and Jupiter is control of the narrative. So the narrative and the multiverse both go multidimensional starting the 26th, right? Yes, starting the 25th, really late on the 25th, Tuesday night. So what that means is we move into, you know, I didn't look up how long it is this way. I think it's at least 10 days that it's in this multiverse energy. So my theory is that we are changing our timeline starting on Tuesday. It's changing our timeline, or choosing a new multiverse. And I believe that means we will be in and out of multiverses. Okay. Now you may go, what the are you talking about? Well, I think the practical way to think about this is, I always use this example, is if like you are dirt poor, you can't pay your rent, you don't know how you're going to go on, you go to 7-Eleven, you decide to buy a scratch ticket, and boom, you win $10,000. Your entire life changes with a scratch ticket. Now, I don't think you should, well, go ahead and scratch ticket all you want, but we're in a place where we can create our own lottery now with this Venus energy. But it's like, so once you win that $10,000, you go back and forth between your multiverse. You will find yourself worrying about the rent again and paying your bills. And then you'll remember, oh my God, I won $10,000. I can pay my bills. And so then you go into the multiverse, the universe where you are abundant. And then you wake up in the morning next day and you forgot you won the lottery. And the first thing you think about is how your house is run down and it needs to be painted. And then you remember, oh, I won $10,000, or I won $100,000. So you're in and out of those two universes. There's the poor universe and there's the abundant universe. And you can literally flop in and out of that. Anytime we have a major change of life, we go between these different multiverses. I remember when I was divorcing, I mean, I was married for several years. I was in love and I was happy. So once I was going through the divorce, there were moments when I was like longing for the marriage to still work. There were moments when I was like, oh, this is going to be good. I'm going to have my own freedom. I'm going to be able to do what I want, schedule my own time. I don't have to check in with someone all the time. I had times in the multiverse where I was now single. Then I had time in multiverse where what's divorce like, and single parent. And so in that big life transition, I'm in multiple timelines at the same time. I'm saying goodbye to some and I'm saying hello to others. And in some cases, I look crazy because I'm in both universes at the same time. So I predict we're going to be in that multiverse energy when Jupiter's at 13 and Uranus is at 22. Again, I did not look up how long that will last. I'll do that for next week's show, but it lasts from Tuesday for the rest of the week, at least till I come back on the air on Friday. So, and so you may go, well, how the hell do I manage that? How do I handle being in 20 universes at once? And this is Aquarius energy, where the Earth is. The Earth is in Aquarius. It has to, the way you know is where your heart longs to be, where you belong, where you want to be a long time. That's what belong is. I want to be there for a long time. I belong there. Okay. So when you're lost between universes, the question is, what does my heart long for? That is your destiny. That is your path. That is your direction. You belong where your heart wants to be for a long time. And so when you find yourself caught in two worlds and you don't know which is home, it's what your heart calls as home. It's the one your heart longs for. That's what home is, okay? Where the heart is, ultimately. All right, the last subplot for the week. Yes, I am scheduling private readings. Email support@seriousjoy.com for that. I just happened to catch that. We'll call that angel induced there. The last aspect of the week, and then we'll talk about how this hits all 12 signs, is Mars. Mars is in Virgo. And Mars is our ego energy, and it's in the early degrees of Virgo. You might have already been feeling this, or maybe you've been nitpicking on yourself, or you've been a little self-sabotagey, if that's a new word I just created, or you've been sort of over yourself, like, oh God, I'm so over myself when it comes to this or it comes to that. I know I've actually, okay, I'll be honest. Like I've looked in the mirror a couple of times. I'm like so over like a couple of things, like want to get in shape, want to get these different things. This is Mars and Virgo. This is our ego Mars in the sign of Virgo, which is hyper awareness. So our ego is hyper aware. Our ego is hyper aware of our own issues and our own faults. Plus Mars is opposing Saturn. So it's triggering our need to get over our karma and get over our issues that we've had with ourselves forever. Mars goes from 7 to 11 degrees Virgo this week, which means that our ego by the end of the week is going to know how to take care of ourselves from a place of integrity. Step 11. Step 11 is a grandmaster step of Virgo. And what's interesting is step 11 is the last degree of the 40 days of self-love, and the last degree, almost the last degree, will be 12 degrees of the Venus retrograde. So what's interesting is our ego this week will get to a place where you'll be totally over yourself. You'll be frustrated as Mars is at step 7. You're looking for solutions. Then you'll be committed. I'm going to go on that diet. I'm going to go ahead and, face these issues. Then you'll really go. Mars will go to 9. Then you'll be holding space with Mars at 10, like hoping it works out. And by the end of the week, you will probably recognize that you are capable of achieving the inner changes that you want to achieve. You realize you're capable of pulling off what you want to pull off with yourself. But it may be a struggle. And because Mars is in Virgo and we're going through the deepest realms of our heart and issues with ourselves, we're very tender and our ego is very defensive. So your ego, may want to blame the world, or it may want to act out, or it may want to act in, which is where you pick on yourself and you're mean to yourself. That's acting in versus acting out and picking on others. But you just have to keep trying is what is there. And we're going to find the best path and the best way to act on it, to act on our own behalf. So you're learning how to act on your own behalf. And part of the lesson you're learning is how your ego can make it worse or your ego can make it better. And that's part of the self-love story, that we want to make it, that we want to make everything we do for ourselves, we want to make our life better, not make our life harder or make our life worse. So Mars, a lot of triggering going on with our ego. Okay. Okay. We're running like clockwork today, with the exception of our planets, our zodiac weather, which is fine. We're just going to roll with it. Let me just show the chart. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show a couple of charts. I'm not going to show as many as I did last week. I'm realizing where I can trim a little bit. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you in the planets some of the themes going on. And then I'm going to talk about for all 12 signs, how this week will affect you in our tea time. All right. So let's start first with our screen share. And I don't know if you noticed, but our theme this week is happy animals. Happy animals is our theme. So the first day, I'm going to show 2 days. I'm going to show the 23rd. And what else am I going to show? The 26th. That's right. So let's look at the 23rd. The 23rd is this Sunday. So just giving you some pointers of what's happening, what I've been talking about. The sun here going into Leo. I'm going to turn off this barcode. There we go. And go back to the chat. The sun in Leo, as you can see, this is the party going on in Leo. We have Venus. I don't know why it does this thing. We have Venus at 28 Leo. Let me actually do something here. I'm still here. There we go. There. It's at 28. There we go. Venus at 28 Leo, retrograde. Here you can see Mercury and Black Moon Lilith conjoining at 22, and this is on Sunday. So as we kick off the 40 days of self-love and the Venus retrograding this way, the sun going this way, they will cazimi at step 20, by the way. Venus will actually conjoin Black Moon Lilith at step 23. These will both be in August, so we'll talk more about that next month. But as you can see, with Mercury conjoining Black Moon Lilith at 22 degrees, we are, our mind is facing catastrophe. 22 is potential catastrophe. What could possibly, everything going wrong. And so this is sort of some doomsday processing, and that would be doomsday for us, whatever is doomsday in our opinion, in our story, how we look at doomsday. And Venus retrograding, the sun at 0, at the beginning of the Leo transit. So we're very tender because the sun is working on and focusing on our inner child and our delicate self. And you'll also notice that this Mars, Black Moon Lilith, Mercury is actually squaring Uranus at 22 Taurus. We have this square going on at the same time. And this square between these two groups, this square means that we have to rationalize between innovating our future with Uranus. Uranus says, hey, innovate the future. And Black Moon Lilith and Mercury says, hey, and think differently about your potential for the future. So the transit starts off pretty intense and pretty in a difficult fashion. At the same time, and I'm wondering how I undo stuff here. Where's my eraser? Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. We'll figure it out. Yeah. 1 second. Thanks for your patience with me. I wasn't quite prepared. Oops, we did that again. Stop that. Okay. Well, anyways, I can just Apple Z it. All right, there we go. We also at the same time, what I want to point out is this energy in Leo, which is us sort of forecasting, will I ever be happy? Will my dreams come true? Will I find my prince? This energy is also trining into Chiron and the North Node. The North Node is our Excalibur. That is God saying, go for your talent, go for what it is that you do best. And Chiron is the reminder of the times when it didn't work out. Now, Chiron has retrograded, so we have no new reminders that things haven't worked out. We have no new hauntings of the past, but we must reconcile with our failures in the past and heal from our failures in the past. Aries being our attempts, Chiron being our failures at attempts. So us, and this would be past life, but also would be stuff that's happened in this life as well that also adds to it. As you can see, here's Mars in Virgo. So Mars is at 8 degrees Virgo by Sunday. So we're already starting to commit to what we want to do and how we want to treat ourselves better. And that here's the yacht I was speaking to earlier from Pluto. You can see this green dotted line from Pluto and Neptune. Your worries about the world, your worries about having a life that means something. God is saying, channel these worries into the Venus retrograde, into what you're going to create. That's what you channel into, is what you want to create. All right. Someone's asking, would you say writing and burying it would be a good way to remind yourself to let it go? Yes, I think any ritual, anything you put in ritual just sort of puts it in physical motion that you have these intentions. So I'm all about writing stuff up and burning it, absolutely, or burying it, absolutely, giving it back to God. It sort of is it's a ceremony for yourself. So self ceremonies right now are very powerful. And we'll be talking about little self ceremonies as well through the 40 days of self-love. Okay. So this is how the week sort of kicks off. The other chart I want to show is Wednesday, July 26th. And on this day, this is the day that Jupiter goes to 13 degrees and Uranus is at 22. By the way, the net between the two of these is 9. And the orb between two planets applies to the SEP system, which means that it's calling for action. Step 9 is action and step 9 is ego. So our ego is really triggered and we're being called to take action, to innovate. And that's what step 13 net 4 and 22 net 4, to innovate how we build, how we manifest, how we fundraise. So I talked about how we're going to feel this multiverse energy because we have these two gigantic planets at net 4s or at Uranus degrees. But the practical side of this is that you're going to come up with probably new visions and new solutions and new potential for how to go about it. So we're not just thinking about, hey, I'm going to manifest all different things with these high degrees of Leo. We're not just thinking about, I'm going to love myself in a new way with the low degrees of Leo. We're thinking about that this personal dream is going to take an innovative approach. And so this does open up for genius as far as I'm concerned. This opens up for genius in the sense that, one thing about most innovations that happen on the planet happen because we hit some sort of a wall, we hit some sort of a block. And so we were forced to think on a higher level. We're forced to go around it with a new solution. And so you're going to find, I would definitely write down all of your creative ideas that come up. Our subscribers of Serious Joy, they're doing journaling every day. So I'll say in your journal, if you have an idea, an innovative idea, like for instance, I'm always coming up with new ways of doing this show and new ways of doing graphics and new ways of presenting astrology information. I got a couple of cool tricks up my sleeve coming out here in the next couple of weeks that I've never done before on the show. This is all the innovation energy of Uranus and Taurus. This is definitely the time to reinvent the wheel. This is definitely the time. This is definitely the time where we're going to see some crazy technologies come out as well. I would imagine that this Venus retrograde will be where some inventors actually come up with their genius invention idea during this retrograde, because not only are we being, thinking about creativity from a different perspective with Venus retrograde, but we're also thinking about innovating the process, and that'd be how you manufacture, how you do it, your process for how you're going to manifest it. It also means you'll come up with great strategies about how to go about it as well. Like, you know what, maybe I'm not going to start by talking to my local politician. Maybe I'm going to start by talking to the union, that sort of thing. So I think part of what's going on this week, and the thing is this energy is technically squaring, Black Moon Lilith at 22 is squaring Uranus at 22. As the sun climbs up through Leo, it starts to square Jupiter. This square causes you to basically go back and forth. In some cases, I got to update the idea. The creative idea is maybe not right. In other ways, it's a great idea. I just got to change the way I go about it. I got to change the way I manifest it. I got to change the way the technology I use to produce it or to make it happen. So there's this back and forth energy in that. And notice here too, on this day, the moon in Scorpio is actually opposing Jupiter at 13 degrees Taurus. So I feel that on Wednesday, July 26th, you probably get out of your own way with the moon in Scorpio. You change your boundary with the moon in Scorpio and go, I don't have to be the owner. I can lease it. You realize that you've been holding on or attached, again, Aquarius energy. What do I detach from? You realize you've been attached to having to go with, someone local, when you realize I could go international. Why do I have to go local? And so I think what that does is free up the innovation of Jupiter at 13, realizing now that I let go of the fact that it has to be grown in my backyard, now I can really go about it in new ways. But again, the main theme of the week is the sun in these early degrees of Leo, and our heart really changing the way we love ourselves. That's what has to change. If you're going to manifest something impossible, if you're going to create something we've never seen before, then you've got to love yourself like you have never loved yourself before. That is the key. And that's what this week is really about, is that self-love. Okay, back to me. And I wonder if I see a little lag in my own picture here, but I wonder if that's the case with people watching. All right. So with that said, it's time for our tea time. Go steep yourself some tea and let's have our tea time. And I'm watching the comments here. On Facebook. Hello, Frederick. I just saw you, brother. What a treat to have you here. I love seeing people that I love. I love all of you, but some of you I know by name. And Frederick is one of them. Hello, sir. Frederick and I go centuries back, sir. Centuries, as he well knows. All right. So for today's zodiac weather, or excuse me, for today's tea time, I'm getting all my brands confused. I'm going to talk about 4 areas for each of the 12 signs. We're doing pretty good on time here. Yay. 4 areas. One area is I'm going to talk about where it is that where you need to love yourself on a higher plane. Now, when we talk about this for each of the 12 signs, this is where, when we talk about Leo, so wherever Leo is for your solar chart. Wow, I'm really feeling like I got to do a lot of teaching today, which is great. So I don't know if you know how the sun sign versus the ascendant sign works. Okay, you have 2 signs, you have 2 stories. You have your sun story, which is your Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, etc. That's one story. And then you have your manifest story, your B story, which is your natal chart, which is how you're going to take that solar energy and manifest it into something that you call your life. All right. So each of the 12 signs, they all channel love in a different sector of their life. So they all channel love through a different area. And so in each of these 12 signs, I'll be talking about where it is you channel love. And what you do is the way you apply this wisdom is that you want to first make sure in what I'm telling you today that you channel love, that you go to that place in your heart first. The sun is your heart. So everyone's heart channels it somewhere. And then in your rising sign, so if you listen for your rising signs horoscope here, your rising sign is where you're going to channel that love to in your life. So the sun sign is where the love is coming from, and the rising sign is where the love is going toward. And that's how you rationalize between your sun sign and your rising sign. A lot of astrologers are only sun sign based. A lot of astrologers are only rising sign based. To me, I like to have it all. I want to know where do I focus in the inner world and where am I putting that energy in my outer world. So for each of these, when I talk about your self-love focus, this is where you must first focus for your sun sign, where your love is coming through. Make sure this portal is open. And then for your rising sign, that's where you're going to channel that love. Then I'm going to tell you where you are transforming your fears. Black moon Lilith at 22 degrees means that we are transforming our fears. Transformation means from lemon to lemonade. Transformation means from poison to medicine. Okay. Poison and medicine are the same substance. It's all about the dosage, right? And when you take it. So we're going to have fears come up, but our goal at 22 is to turn that fear into some sort of a superpower, into some sort of something that will benefit us versus hold us back. All right. So I'll be talking about where you're transforming your fears. Then I'm going to tell you what your Venus retrograde issue is. So where you are, where you are committing to a new feeling of love, which is just above Black Moon Lilith. And then I'm going to tell you where your Excalibur is. I'm going to tell you where your Excalibur is and where your talent is and where to pick up your talent and move forward with that expression of your strength. And I will for all 12 signs. Okay. And with that, let's start with Aries. I'm flipping here so that I'm talking to the camera. Aries, you focus your love through your inner child. So love comes through your inner child. It's now time to return to your inner child. This means you might work on stories around your inner child, stories around your childhood. You certainly may have pains and tragedy come up from childhood that needs to be addressed and loved and healed. So you might have some inner child stuff coming up. For Aries risings, you're gonna. This means you channel the energy into playfulness and joy. So you channel it into your playfulness and where you play. I can't say it any more clear. So we'll leave it at that. So Aries, you are focusing on your inner child. You are transforming your fears around the abandonment or loss of love. So where you have lost something you loved, where you've been abandoned, where you have ruined a creative project, where some sort of creative project tanked, for instance. So you tried to make a film and it just flopped. So you're going to transform failures of the heart failures, into some sort of medicine somehow. And that medicine will probably be that you give it another go. I mean, that medicine will probably be that you know better this time. That medicine will probably be that every time wasn't a mistake. It was just not the right one. So you're going to transform where you've been abandoned or where you've lost your love. The Venus retrograde says it's time to start committing to what the feeling of your personal dreams is. You don't have to know what your personal dream is at this point. You have to know what it feels like. And that may be a little esoteric, but I teach this in my service, that everything begins with a feeling. Remember, the steps are 0, 1, 2, protection, love, feeling. Everything starts as a feeling, and then it turns into a belief, step 3, and then it turns into a longing, step 4, and then it turns into idea, step 5. We must always begin with the feeling of what we want, and that's what we often are unaware of. So I want you to conjure up the feeling that you want to feel in the future. You don't have to know how you're going to get there. You don't have to know what it looks like. You only have to know what it feels like at this point. And I recommend closing your eyes and feeling and holding that feeling. And we'll be practicing this in Serious Joy. We'll be practicing conjuring up the feeling and holding the feeling in our heart. Your Excalibur is your character and the way you present yourself in the world. So your talent is your character. And that's true with every Aries. You all have a unique character. You're all a son of a gun. You know what I mean? Like, so you want to be, you want to hold on and remember your character, remember what your characters overcome. You want to remember what you're capable of doing. Remember what your talents are as far as performance is concerned. Remember the aspects of your image that you love the most. This is your Excalibur. All right. Taurus. Taurus, your self-love comes through your feelings about yourself. So a Taurus feels their love when they feel themselves. They feel their heart. And this makes a lot of sense because Taurus is step 10, which is the heart plus boundaries. Taurus is basically a Scorpio and a Leo combined is what a Taurus is, which is why a Taurus is so heavy, because they're two signs in one. They're a compound sign. You feel, your feelings reveal your heart. So you have to do heart work through your emotional field. This is also your childhood and how you were raised. So you are working through your self-love focuses by nurturing your feelings. If you take care of your feelings, you're loving yourself. That's how it works for Taurus. Is if you take care of your feelings, that is the best way to love yourself. Remember, happy cows make happy cheese. Okay. I know Taurus is the bull, but I think, it's both genders. So nurturing yourself is how you love yourself. And so you might have some emotional core issues come up this week. Definitely an issue tissue Tuesday and Thursday. Where you are facing fears is around your issues with your family. So being the black sheep, being the addict in the family, being the one that, your dad is disappointed in because you didn't follow the lawyer footsteps or whatever. So you have to transform your fears around failing in your family, or where you have failed your family, or where you failed the family you've created. You got to transform those fears into medicine, transform them into something positive that may have been then, but now this is now. Your Venus retrograde is going to be, what does emotional security feel like? What does it feel like to feel secure? What does it feel like to feel grounded? That's the emotional matrix you want to imprint in your brain, is the feeling of groundedness and the feeling of what a good home and family feels like coming from that good home. So feeling the castle in order and imagining what that feeling can be. Your Excalibur is actually your relationship to God. And you may go, what? And you may not even have a relationship to God that's conscious. You may only have a subconscious relationship to God. But Taurus's secret weapon is their cocky faith. And yes, I said that, cocky faith, because it's Aries. You are cocky that you're going to pull it off, and you know it. You know God's got your back. You know that what you can do and what you can't do. That is one of the things that Tauruses are born with. They're born knowing their capabilities. And so your faith and your relationship to God and your relationship to the angels, which is basically the deal you made in heaven. This is your Excalibur. This is your sword. This is your secret weapon to cut through the BS, pun intended there, BS, bull, and move on with nurturing yourself in a better way. So when you start to worry about that, just remember, God has never dropped you yet. So why would she start now? Gemini, your self-love focus comes from the way you talk to yourself and the way you think about yourself. That's where you're loving or not loving yourself, is in your self-talk and in your dialogue. I'm not talking about conversations with other people or looking up stuff on the internet. I'm talking about what you say to yourself when you cut your finger, what you say to yourself when you make a mistake, what you say to yourself when something doesn't go your way. Are you putting yourself down? Are you talking negative to yourself? Are you letting your thoughts go to the dark side? I had this conversation in Serious Joy about Mercury. Mercury rotates very slowly. It takes 2 months for Mercury to go around. So a day in Mercury is 2 months. And so that means there's always a side of Mercury that is facing the love of the sun. And there's always a side of Mercury that's facing cold, dark space, okay, or Mars. And so you have to choose to face the sun. You have to choose to think on the sunny side of life in order to love yourself. That's the only way you love yourself, is by choosing the sunny thoughts over the dark, cold space thoughts. So self-talk is where you self-love. Where you have to face fears is around being wrong or called stupid. So you have to face your fears of being wrong, or saying something you don't mean, or calling yourself stupid, or being called stupid, or being ignored. That's where you're facing fears, is where people don't respect or disrespect your intelligence. And that's where you're facing fears, is around fears around intelligence. The Venus retrograde is going to be that you're going to feel a new plan coming. And I want to stress this. Right now, you ought to feel the plan coming. Remember the steps. It goes 0, protect. 1, I love. 2, I feel. You don't think until step 5. Okay. So all thoughts start with a feeling. And right now it's time to feel this idea coming. You know how we can sort of feel a sneeze coming up? How you can feel you're about to sneeze? Geminis can feel they're about to have a great idea, but they don't know what it is. You can feel it. They say it's on the tip of my tongue. That's because you can feel the ideas there, but you can't realize it. So you're going to feel your attitude. You're going to feel your plans, and you want to feel the attitude you're going to take. That's what your Venus retrograde energy is for this first week. Your Excalibur is actually your social place in the world. So Gemini's secret weapon is you're likable. People like you, or people don't like you. So it makes it very clear you don't hang around those people. You're always the friendly one. You have the information. You put your hand out and shake hello right away. Your Excalibur is that you are this congenial, information-friendly, helpful person in the world. And you always are the one to speak up first. Sometimes speak up last, but that's an inverted Gemini. But most of the time, you're going to go ahead and make that intellectual bridge, put those ideas together, put these two people together, put these two concepts together. That is your Excalibur. That is your talent. So remember that you always do well in the world, that people like you. That's what you remember when you are falling into self-talk of not loving yourself the way you deserve to be loved. Okay, we're going to take a drink. Yes, Geminis are the life of the party, says Libra and Lauren. I agree. Libras are. So are Sages, they're opposite. Bring a Libra and a Sag, and you don't even need to entertain, said the Taurus. Okay. Cancers. Cancers, your self-love is around self-worth. And this is complicated, so let me get a little deeper on it. We're going to take our time today in these horoscopes because they're so important. Self-worth is the time and energy you give yourself. So when you give yourself the time and energy necessary, you feel worthy. Think about it from the perspective of being a good mother, a good father. The more you hold that baby, the more you love that baby, the more confident that baby becomes growing up. It's because you've put all that time and energy into the baby. So your self-love comes down to the time and energy you put in yourself, not time and energy worrying about things, not time and energy worrying about other people, not time and energy feeling bad, not time and energy, judging yourself in the mirror, time and energy investing in yourself. So your capacity to love yourself is how much time and energy you put into yourself. And I'm the son of a Cancer, and mom has very good self-esteem because she takes time. She will nap and she will eat and this sounds so obvious, but will take time to rest. These are all things that she tried to give me as qualities that I didn't do. So sorry, mom. But she is a role model in that sense that she's always taken good care of herself and she's always been pretty confident. So when you are very putting time and energy into yourself, you are loving yourself. And you might have painful memories come up of where you failed to love yourself in this week. Now, where you're going to transform and face fears is around bankruptcy and poverty. And you'd be like, what? How can that be? Well, low self-esteem leads to poverty and bankruptcy. So you're going to have to transform your fears around money, around finding the job, transforming fears around bankruptcy, transforming fears around debt. You have to transform those fears and turn that poison into medicine. You have to use it as a means to change your credibility in the world and your credit, literally. Maybe you're facing fears around bad credit. The Venus retrograde says it's time to feel differently about money and abundance. So I want you to imagine what it feels like to have a lot of money. I want you to imagine what it feels like to have your cupboards full of food, to have more time than you need, to have more cars than you need, to have more furniture than you need. What does it feel like to have more than you need? That is what you want to hold with the Venus retrograde this week, is changing your feeling about what money is. And, there are a lot of people who had past lives, a lot of people who have money problems in this life. I look in their chart and they were all spiritual in the past life. They got brainwashed by Christianity or Judaism, or even Hinduism. I mean, all these religions say you've got to be, only the poor are really the ones connected to God, which is just BS. So you may, you might still have bad feelings about abundance. Abundance is not the same thing as greed. Greed and abundance are not the same thing. You can be very abundant and be very charitable, right? And very giving. So you have to expunge any false feelings about abundance. And where your North Node is pointing is career and legacy and retirement. So believe it or not, Cancer's secret weapon is everything they commit to. So when they commit, a Cancer commits. They commit to that child. They commit to that wife. They commit to that husband. They are very committed, and they are egotistical, Aries, about their commitments and about their follow through. And so this is where your talent is. Your talent is when you set your consciousness to it, me, damn it, you do it. Okay. You always pull it off. You always make it happen. You always follow through. So, your Excalibur is that you have a talent for that when you commit, you follow through and you do it and you're reliable. That's what makes you a great nurturer, is that commitment. So think about your career, your legacy, your parenting, your leadership potential. And sometimes leading is the first one in line to get a glass of water. And then everyone's like, oh, I'll get a glass of water too. Sometimes leading is by caring for yourself in front of others. That's also leading by influence and by example. All right. Leos, my lovely Leos, happy birthday, Leo. I know you're going to celebrate your birthday for an entire month because I know so many Leos, and I love you so much, you Leos. I'll be calling you and saying happy birthday. Your self-love is in your self-treatment. So the way you treat yourself is how you love yourself or don't love yourself. And that includes abandoning yourself or not abandoning yourself. So self-love to you comes down to, do you respond kindly to yourself? Do you really show up for yourself and really love yourself? Or do you actually give yourself potato chips and crappy food? Are you showing up? And more importantly, when you respond to yourself, okay, like when you respond to yourself in your mind, when you respond to yourself, you wake up tired. How do you respond to yourself? You're pissed off. Well, how do you respond to being pissed off? It's the response, not the initiation, okay, that defines how well you love yourself, okay? Loving yourself is not going out and purchasing the expensive car. Loving yourself is not taking it personally when they deny your credit, okay? Like, that's loving yourself. That you are there in the response, in the replay, which is what the Aries rising is, what the ascendant is how we respond to life. It is us taking that first breath, our response to God giving us life. So self-treatment is how you love yourself. Where you're going to face fears this week and transform your fears is around narcissism and failure. So being afraid of looking like that narcissist, being afraid of looking like a jackass, being afraid of completely failing, transmuting any fears of failure or character flaw, that I appear flawed. This is where you have to transform your fears around this into some sort of medicine. Turn that fear of being called out of shape to going to the gym. Okay. Rather than be afraid of being called out of shape, call yourself on it and take yourself to the gym, go for a walk, take that 10,000 steps a day, monitor your steps. So transform your fears around your image and fears around narcissism, transform those into success or into opportunity. Now, where Venus is retrograding for you is, I have to say, this Venus retrograde is the most powerful Venus retrograde in your entire life. The next one will be in 8 years from now, and Venus is in Leo again in 8 years. So this is the most important Venus retrograde for the next 8 years for you. I predict Leos are going to have a complete makeover. And I know a lot of Leos who already are aware of this. I know of Leos that are becoming parents right now. I know of Leos that are changing their job. I know of Leos that are getting married. That is an image makeover. You used to be divorced. Now you're married. You used to be single. Now you're together. You used to be, a bachelor. Now you're a parent. So there's going to be a makeover for all Leos and an image makeover. And it's going to be your hair. It's going to be your clothing. It's going to be everything. I know you fabulous Leos. But what you want to get into, what does it feel like to be me? That's the question. What does it feel like to be me? What does it feel like to be me? How do I want to feel when I'm out there? How do I want to feel when I'm on stage? How do I want to feel when I'm in front of people? That's what you're imagining with Venus retrograde this week. Now, your Excalibur is your life's purpose, which is what you put your heart into. Leos chase after what they believe in. That's one thing that's magical about you. You're a believer. You believe wholeheartedly until you're wrong. Okay. So your talent is your capacity to believe, to have a belief when everyone else says you're full of S. You have a belief when your whole family disagrees with you, to have a belief when your whole kingdom disagrees with you. This is the Leo king or queen in the sense that you have to hold the belief for the entire queendom. So your talent is that once you believe, you are unstoppable. That's your talent. And so that's what you want to remember when you're going through these hardships of this first week, is that when you're a believer, you're impossible to stop. You're very influential, as you probably well know. Okay, we're going to move on to Virgos here, but first I'm going to clear my throat. Okay, we're back. Virgos. Virgos, I have to say, this is going to be a tough transit for you. And it's going to be tough for one of two reasons. One, you're a Virgo who's coming into your integrity for the first time. So you're moving from being a self-critic to someone to believing in yourself, or you already are doing pretty well, but you're not happy with the way life is going and you want more. And so the question is, do I have faith that I can come out of this, whatever I'm in, or do I have faith that I can do more than I've done before? So this Venus retrograde has to do with, well, the sun in Leo has to do with faith in yourself. You're going to have to face any questions of having faith in yourself, any issues around having faith in yourself. This means facing fears about yourself, facing maybe your worst fears about yourself. Facing means you have a plan to deal with it. That's what facing means. Like, well, I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to walk in that dark room, or I'm going to go on stage, or I'm going to public speak, or I'm going to do it. Gosh darn it. So this also means that you're going to face karmic heartache. And that means that you might mourn a lover that's gone. You might mourn, something that you haven't, Virgos are interesting. All signs are interesting, but you have a capacity to ignore and you have a capacity to not ignore. So you're either like hyper aware or it doesn't exist and you pretend like it's not there. It's amazing, your conscious abilities. So a lot of Virgos sort of pretend that they're not hurting, and it didn't hurt them. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, so painful. Like I'm bending over. So you might go through some painful memories that have to be cleared that is preventing you from having faith in yourself. Where you're facing fears is around bad karma, bad luck, or God's wrath. So I'm always the unlucky one, or I have the worst karma, or I have the worst karma with men, or God doesn't like me. God picks on me. This is where your fears are. This is where you have to transform your fears, that the universe is not out to get you, and that it has just been your lessons. It has been your path, but is not your truth. So you have to transform your perception of bad karma, bad luck, or God's wrath into something productive for you. And that might just be like, well, it can't always be bad luck now, can it? I mean, the laws of statistics say it's going to turn around at some point. And that's the good thing about orbits, is eventually you do go full circle. It never goes straight on forever. Now, for your Venus retrograde, I want you to imagine what it feels like to have faith in the universe, to feel like you're God's favorite. That's what you should do. Feel like you're one of God's favorite. And maybe you already do. And if you do, good luck. Good for you, rather, not good luck. Good for you. We're all God's favorite. That's the secret of the universe. God loves, favors everybody. And we can't imagine that because we're not God, but God does favor everyone and everything and every rock and every crack and every insect. So go ahead and feel like you're God's favorite and feel what that feels like. Feel what it feels like to have the universe having your back. And that's the beginning of opening up your Venus retrograde. Your sword of Excalibur is your ability to change. And you may go, what? Well, you're so heavy. When you change, it's a lot of change. But a Virgo can change. A Virgo can hold steady and they can keep from changing, and a Virgo can completely change when they want to change. A Virgo rules reality. You have the capacity to change reality. So your talent is your ability to manage your boundaries. That's either to hold a boundary back, to hold something back, or to embrace the change of something. And just think of all the things you've changed that you didn't think was changeable. That's your talent. That's your Excalibur, that you can transform lemon into lemonade. And that's probably where you see it most. You have a capacity to change other people's lives. So you probably see it in other people's lives than you do yours as much because you're so self-critical. But just think of how your capacity to heal a situation, your capacity to fix something, your capacity to change something. That's your secret Excalibur. Libras. Libra's self-love comes from, feeling like they belong. Okay, this is an obscure concept, but this is where your self-love is. A Libra, I've known Libras who go, that man doesn't know it, but I'm his wife. I've known Libras that know that. They know they belong with that guy. A Libra knows that they belong in that school. A Libra knows that they belong there, and they don't question it. They take full Aries attitude about it, their opposite sign, and they go charging in like their boss. And it's so funny because a Libra will be very docile and sort of, fragile and sort of hang back and like not necessarily don't want to tread on anything. And then when they find something they love, they charge. That's because your self-love comes from your knowing that you belong, knowing where you belong. So if you don't know where you belong, you're not loving yourself very much. That's how it works for you. You have to know where you belong. I belong in this school. I belong next to this person. I belong as a politician. I belong as a teacher. This is where I long to be. This is where I belong. So where you're going to face fear and heartache will be obviously humiliation, social rejection, times where you were cast out of the group, times where you were rejected by the family or rejected by the school or rejected, where people say, you don't belong here. And that has nothing to do with you loving yourself. That has to do with them accepting your love and accepting your offer. It has nothing to do with really you loving yourself when someone rejects you. They're just not right for you from their perspective. So you really have to see the parts of yourself that you belong with, and also the parts of yourself that you belong with inside yourself. You don't belong with the part of yourself putting yourself down. You belong with the part of yourself that's encouraging yourself. You don't belong with the part of yourself that criticizes. You belong with the part of yourself that pats yourself on the back. So it's not just where you belong in the world, it's where you belong with yourself. What side of yourself you belong standing next to inside of yourself is part of that belonging as well. Now, where you have to feel different now with the Venus retrograde is your social ambition. Where you feel, what does it feel? What does your world feel like? What does your world feel like? What does your world feel like at school? What does your world feel like at work? What does your world feel like at home? What does your world feel like? That's the beginning of your Venus retrograde. How you wish your world would feel. How you wish your world would feel. And I should say that for everyone. It's how you wish. So how you wish your world would feel is where you need to emotionally imagine this week. And your Excalibur, can you guess what it is? It's your long-term relationships. That's right. Your Excalibur, your talent is your capacity for long-term relationships. A Libra can stay there through and through and never give up until they do, of course, when it's not good for them. So it's now time to lean into the relationships that work. It's now time to ask for something in return from your relationships, to expect equality in your relationships, to expect fairness in your relationships. But your talent is relationships. So when you wonder like, oh, how am I going to find my place in the world? Are you kidding? You're a relationship master. You're going to totally dazzle them and totally diplomacy the whole situation. And you'll have them eating out of the palm of your hands. Your Excalibur is your ability to relate. You'll build the bridge to the shy kid. You'll build the bridge to the bully. You build the bridges to all the people who are difficult. That's your superpower. That's your Excalibur. So let's not worry about whether or not society is going to reject us, because someone's going to love us, so to speak. Scorpios. Okay, your self-love is your self-discipline. And you may go, I can see every Scorpio now going, what? That's so lame. No, it's really where you love yourself, is that you follow through. A Scorpio, when you stick to your commitments, when you stick to your decisions, that's how you love yourself. So now sometimes you also hurt yourself by sticking to something that doesn't work. So recognize that self-discipline is also giving up when it doesn't work. It's also saying no when it's clearly failing. When the other party clearly doesn't want to play along and you're still committed when it's toxic for you. So loving yourself is whether to be committed or not be committed. It's not just your ability to be disciplined. It's your ability to discipline yourself to let go, to release, to forget that what's not going to work. Now, where you're transforming your fears is around career failure, legacy failure, parenting failure. So you're going to have to face failure with career, legacy, or professional reputation. And, you think about, well, I'm not afraid of failing. Well, if you're reconsidering dropping out of law school to be a musician, you'll fear failure. Okay. So fearing failure may have to do with the fact that your heart really wants something else, but it's such a risk. And it's, everyone's going to say that you're crazy and all this other stuff. So facing your fear of failure and career failure may be because you're over what you've been doing and you're ready for something fantastic, but you'll have to face that fear of failure, Black Moon Lilith, in order to get there and pull it off. What you want to do with Venus retrograde this week is you want to feel, what does it feel like to be the boss? What does it feel like to be the top dog? What does it feel like to own your job, or to own your legacy, or to own your career? What does that strut in your walk feel like when you are the man or the woman who is in charge and running the show? So imagine the feeling of success. Imagine the feeling of a successful career. Imagine the feeling of having the best reputation in your field. That's where the Venus retrograde begins. Now, your talent, your Excalibur, is your ability to perform. Okay, that's what your talent is. Your talent in Excalibur is performance. A Scorpio performs. They perform their duties. They perform what they don't want to do. They perform the bad parts of the job. You are talented at something, and all of you are talented at many things. So your raw talent to perform, to pull it off, that's your secret sword. That's your Excalibur. That is why you'll be able to be successful in your career, because you always pull it off and you always perform. And if anything, you have overperformed when other people haven't joined you in that same valiant effort. So performance is your Excalibur. Sagittarius, my Sages. I just realized I had a dream about a friend of mine who was a Sag last night. That's so funny how this person just popped in my head. Sages, your ability to love yourself is tied to your belief in yourself. So when you believe in yourself, you love yourself. Okay. And when you doubt yourself, you don't love yourself. So it comes down to believing, and you have to believe before you can prove it. You can't prove it before you believe it. You have to believe it first. So the evidence comes from the believing. So it's time to believe in yourself. It's time to root out all the dark spots in the sun where you doubt yourself. If you doubt yourself, then just come up with a plan. Go to school, get a mentor, train, do a Google search, go on YouTube and watch a video. Like, anything you don't believe in can be rectified with education or travel. You know that. So it's time to believe in yourself. It's time to root out any of the spots on the sun where you don't believe in yourself. Where you're facing your fears is around being a false prophet, being ignorant, being perceived as stupid, being perceived as uneducated, being perceived as unexperienced. So, if you believe you can do something, but you don't have the experience, you're going to have to face your fears of not being experienced enough. Okay. You have to face your fears around really believing that you can pull it off. So you'll have to face fears around, like all those things I said, lack of education, ignorance, or being called a false prophet, being called an idiot for something you believe in. What you're going to be feeling with Venus retrograde is feeling what your purpose is. So you want to feel out, what is my purpose? What do I feel brings me meaning and purpose? Where do I feel meaningful? What makes me feel meaningful? Can I remember times when I felt meaningful, when I felt purposeful, when I felt like I was making a difference in the world? This is where you're feeling through the Venus retrograde is, what does that feel like to have a life that it means something to you? What does that feel like? And your Excalibur is actually your capacity to love and pursue your dreams. So Sages are a dreamer. The fact that you're a dreamer, this is your secret weapon. Okay. You dream about faraway lands. You dream about the love of your life. You dream about, being super wise and knowing all the answers. You're a dreamer by nature, and you go after your dreams. You actually try. You actually risk your life. You risk starvation. You risk it all. And that's what your talent is. That's why you can go ahead and believe that you can change your life, and you can believe that your life can have a greater purpose, because you have more courage to change your dreams, or chase after that boy you're attracted to, or blink, or walk up to the girl you're attracted to. You have the courage. Sages just make the move. That's what I've always admired about Sages. I love watching a Sag at a party, by the way. It's like you just watch the little social butterfly go around and see everyone, and it's like half the night you've like met somebody that you're going to maybe take home, and then the second half of the night it's a whole new person. It's like, I thought you're going to take this person. It's so funny, but that's just because you have so much courage to just go after what your heart wants, and you don't think twice about it. And one of the things I just love about Sages. So your Excalibur is the fact that you will chase after your dreams and not think twice about it. And that's what people like you and admire you, is for those reasons. Okay. Capricorns, your self-love is your self-trust. I'll say it again. Your self-love is your self-trust. And, I've seen this, like Capricorns, like I'm trying to think of an example, but a Capricorn, like for instance, let's say a job interview, and you ask in a job interview, like, what do you want to make for this job? And the Capricorn will be like, 150,000 a year. Like they'll just throw it out there. They totally trust themselves to just throw it out there. They have, they have no problem. They can be promoted to a job they've never done before, and they have no problem. They trust they're going to pull it off, even though they have no experience. You've only done it once. You've read about it on the internet, yet you think you can have this title. You think you can pull it off. Yeah, because a Capricorn that loves himself trusts himself. So you have to weed out where you don't trust yourself. You have to weed out, the areas you don't trust. And that means you develop trust. Loving yourself would be developing trust in yourself in that area. If you don't trust yourself in that area, well, what will it take to trust yourself? Or what will it take to protect yourself from falling down that particular rabbit hole or that situation? So trusting yourself is loving yourself when you're a Capricorn. If you don't trust yourself, and also the same thing too, if you falsely trust yourself, like in an arrogant way, and you haven't really done the work to trust yourself, that's not loving yourself either. So loving yourself is building authentic trust in yourself, not just false trust. Now, what you have to transform, what the fear you have to transform is your fear of death, abandonment, or betrayal. Okay. So any fears you have that you'll be betrayed or backstabbed, or you'll be abandoned, or you'll be alone for the rest of your life, or fears around not being able to change. That's another one, fear of not being able to change. I don't think I can change. I'm too stuck in my ways. I'm too controlling, which is all true. You are, but you can change. When you have a change of heart, when you trust yourself, you can change your life. When you trust yourself, you can face death. You can face abandonment. You can face people betraying you. You can face the mistakes you made if you've accidentally or intentionally betrayed someone else. So you have to face your fears around death and betrayal. Where you want to hold space with Venus retrograde is you want to feel your life changing. You want to start to imagine feeling your life changing. And that would be, I would think, like visualizing, for instance, when you change jobs, what does it feel like when you change jobs? What does it feel like when you change houses? What does it feel like when you change partners? So really starting to, what does it feel like to change? That's where you're going to start to get the Venus retrograde juices flowing, is in your life transformation, feeling what that might be, imagining what it might be like if it changes this way, imagining what it might be like if it changes that way. Now your Excalibur is actually your emotional security. That's right. Capricorn's Excalibur is, they are that goat standing on the ledge of the mountain, and they are not sweating a beat. That is Capricorn's Excalibur, that you come from a solid home or a solid foundation or rock solid emotions. You have, the nerve of steel in some ways. And I know you have a lot of issues where you do have fear and you fall into your emotions, but you are just usually a rock, at least the way you appear to the world. And you don't feel like, you're the opposite of Cancer. So you're emotionally very secure. You don't go there. You can hold the tone. You can stay committed to a feeling, stay committed to a family. So your Excalibur is that you're emotionally unwavering, and focused, and you're aiming for something with your feelings. You're not sitting around feeling bad. You're on your way to the gym. You're on your way to the therapist. You're on your way to this. So your secret sword and talent is that you are emotionally solid by nature. Not that you don't have problems. We all do, but compared to the other 12 signs, you're solid. Aquarius, your self-love comes down to your mirage. So how you approach yourself is your self-love. Okay. If you approach yourself like a loser, you're not loving yourself. You approach yourself like an innovator, you're loving yourself. It's your approach to yourself and the way you approach yourself from the get-go. So you might approach yourself as a work of art. You might approach yourself as a work in progress. You might approach yourself as a hot mess. That approach is what determines whether or not you are loved by yourself and therefore the world. So every Aquarius who's not happy in relationships is because you're in a bad mirage. You have mirrored yourself in a toxic way. You're not being loving. You're not there till death do you part. You're not living up to your vows to yourself. And that's why you're attracting people that hurt you, abandon you, or you are maybe afraid of being close to people because you're not really close enough to yourself. So your self-love comes down to how you approach yourself and the approach you take. Is it a loving approach? Is it a cold, distant approach, which would be your sign, Aquarius? Now, where you have to face fears and transform fears into medicine is in around toxic relationships, fears of divorce, fears of abandonment, fears of abandoning others, fears of relationships chaining you down, fears of being trapped in a relationship, fears of a relationship person betraying you. So really anywhere a relationship can go wrong, that's where you have to face fears right now. Is where your relationships will go wrong. Face your fears, turn those into positivity, ensure that it doesn't happen instead of worrying that it is. Where you're going to imagine with your Venus retrograde is your long-term relationships. So what does it feel like to be in the perfect work relationship? What does it feel like to be in the perfect marriage? What does it feel like to be in the perfect relationship to food? What does it feel like to be in the perfect relationship to yourself? Start imagining what these feel like. Close your eyes and think about what they feel like. Don't think about going on a date or walking down the aisle or any of the details. Just what does it feel like when you're standing next to that person that you're going to marry or that you're going to be doing business with? And just start imagining those feelings as the beginning of conjuring up your Venus retrograde. Your Excalibur is your mind. So an Aquarius's mind is fast, brilliant, committed, lightning fast. Your Excalibur is your brilliant ideas, your brilliant suggestions, your quick pace of your thinking, your ability to communicate to all walks of life, to connect to anything from spiders to men who call themselves identify as a spider. Like you have this, your attitude, your big plans. This is your Excalibur, your big ideas, your big plans, you're going places. Your mind is going places. You're processing ideas that no one's thought of before. This is your talent. So when you're worried about long-term relationships going toxic, remember how good of a thinker you are, how good of a communicator you can be when you want to, how brilliant your ideas are. Of course, you're going to pull this relationship off because you're brilliant in the way you think, and you think so fast and on your feet, like you have lightning flash inspiration. That's your Excalibur. That's why you're a badass, is your mind. Okay. And now the Pisces, never last and always last, but never least. Sorry about that. So Pisces, your self-love comes down to the way you treat your body and how you live in the moment. So Pisces can be how you allow yourself to live in the moment is how you ultimately love yourself. If you let yourself sit there in fear and worry, you're not loving yourself. If you sit there in a dirty diaper, you don't change your diaper, which is my metaphor for emotion, you don't love yourself. If you are drinking like a fish and not eating your vegetables, you're not loving yourself. The good news is for you, love is very literal. Eat, sleep, drink appropriately, keep things in balance, put nutritious food in your body. This is how you love yourself, your relationship to your body. So, you might mourn some issues with your body. You might mourn that you're aging with these, the black spots on the sun for you is being displeased with your body, having an unhealthy body image. And that can be unhealthy in two ways. I know Pisces who spend too much time in the gym and never relax. And I know Pisces who really need to go for a walk. I know both spectrums of it. So sometimes you don't love yourself by not giving yourself a break. Sometimes you don't love yourself by not giving yourself exercise. Okay. So the self-love comes down to how you live in the moment. Now, the fears you have to transform are fears around sickness, fears around injury, fears around entrapment, fears around being stuck in the wrong job, fears around being in a lifestyle that you hate, fears around life sucking. So you have to face your fears that life's going to suck. And what you're changing in this Leo transit is going to be your lifestyle and your life performance. So maybe you have a job that pays the bills, but you don't enjoy it. You're not really enjoying it, but you're too afraid, Black Moon Lilith, of getting a new job, because at least, you might as well be with the devil. It might be sort of your attitude, which is how Pisces stay stuck too long. So you got to face your fears of life changing, face your fears of your routines changing, face your fears of, being handcuffed to a life you don't want. The Venus retrograde says, well, what does the right life feel like? What do you want to feel like at work? What do you want to feel like when you wake up? What do you want to feel like when you're at work with coworkers? What do you want to feel like in your body? What do you want to feel like in your routines? That's where you start imagining with Venus retrograde. What do you want to feel like? What's that life really feel like? What's that life potential? What is that really like? That's the Venus retrograde for you. And this is going to freak you out. And I'm curious how people are going to react. I'm going to watch. Hello, Lizzie. Nice to see you. Hello, Neptune girl. Your Excalibur is actually your ability to manifest. And you might go, what? That's right. Pisces can manifest. They can manifest so fast because they're connected to Holy Spirit. Now, a lot of Pisces are hung up for other ways, for other reasons, but I'll give you an example. I've known Pisces alcoholics, and I'm not trying to be a cliche here, but a lot of Pisces do like to drink. And I've known Pisces who have no job, no money, but somehow they manifest the booze. Like somewhere they pull it off. So I've seen Pisces pull rabbits right out of their hat at the very last moment. You always just have this magic ability to just someone gives it to you, or, you make it happen, you manifest it, you pull it off. I've known Pisces who, don't have a resume. They haven't really gotten their career stuff in order, and boom, they get offered a job out of nowhere. You always manifest a miracle at the very last minute. That's your Excalibur. That's your magic. You always pull that rabbit out of your hat. You can't always do it on cue. Usually you do it when you're backed into a corner and you have no other choice. So I know Pisces will put it off and procrastinate and say they're going to do it. And then there's very last minute, when the rent is due, boom, they pull it off, they manifest it. So your Excalibur is the magic wand. That's why I call you the magician. You are the magicians. You can pull a rabbit out of your hat. You can manifest something out of nowhere. So if you're worried about your lifestyle not working out, or being stuck to a job you hate, or stuck in a body that's unhealthy and unfulfilling and feels bad, you always pull it off. You always have that magic. You always make it happen. So that is your Excalibur, dear Pisces. All righty. That is our tea time and the 12 horoscopes. I want to just do some announcements, and then I'm going to answer questions. So get ready with your questions. Don't put them up just yet. A couple of things. Remember, folks, the 40 days of self-love, sign up in the next 24 hours. That way you start getting the messages right away of our service. We text message you 7 to 10 times a day. We're with you. We're always with you. We have this full team. It's only $3.99 for the first month. Some people have asked, what if I was at Serious Joy before and I come back? Serious Joy remembers you as long as you use the same email address that you used to sign up before. We remember where your curriculum started and we put you right back there. So most people don't know this, but Serious Joy is designed to be different from year 0 to year 1 to year 2 to year 3. Every year is a different curriculum based on the steps. And if you leave and come back 10 years later, we put you right back in the class where you left off. So seriousjoy.com. You know your heart wants to do it, so give in, love yourself, spend $3.99 on yourself and try it. It'll help you. And our whole world will be helped by it too, because you are an influencer of light. So you need the support. Masters and influencers need support. So part of what we offer is the community, other people doing it, other people getting to know people, just like you are right now in this chat. Everyone in this chat is an amazing person. This week in Serious Joy, our Mega Monthlies is live. If you don't know, we have a Mega Monthly report. It's right off the lobby. I recommend for our subscribers listening to your Mega Monthly report again, because I go over in detail in these monthly reports what the Venus retrograde is for your sign. Also listen for your rising sign. You can also listen for your friends and family. We have all 12 signs, the monthly audio report available in Mega Monthlies. This week, we just launched with Robbie Hunt, our latest self-study hall, which is our astrology class we do once a month. This month's class is Healing with Chiron. So I click on self-study hall in the lobby and watch a class on Chiron. We have 3 guests who come on. They share their Chiron stories. Robbie delivers the brilliance of Chiron in this week's self-study hall, now live on Serious Joy. This week, our self soul support group is going to be Lights of the Round Table. So this Wednesday, all of our practitioners come on camera together and we all talk about August and what August is going to be. And I already have the title of August. Should I give it away? Yes, I will. It's Finding Your Inner Merlin. So August is about us finding our magic in our hearts. Okay, that's what August is about. We're going to find our magic. We're going to go over all the key charts of the entire month. It's a full 90 minutes. We all talk about it. Devin talks about the angels and what the angels have to say for the month. It's a power-packed advanced look at the upcoming month. All right. Please remember that sharing is caring. The greatest thing you can do for me is tell your friends and family about this show and the people who are ready to hear about it. That's the kindest thing you can do for me. I greatly appreciate it. I do also appreciate all of the super chat donations people have made. Thank you very much for your donations. If people want to donate, you can go to paypal.me/Sensei Christopher, paypal.me/Sensei Christopher. Some people like to give back monetarily, and I appreciate it. Don't forget our Facebook club if you want to rub elbows with other people and post things and share things. And if you are a light worker and you have a light worker business and you want to share your business with our community, you're welcome at seriousjoy.club, seriousjoy.club. Be sure to answer the questions because we're always looking to weed out the bots. Now, if you want to follow me, I have a Zodiac weather that goes live every day, and you can find all of my social media handles at seriousjoy.social. seriousjoy.social will take you to my linked tree, and you'll have access to absolutely everything there, even an interview with me from Om Times. So I even have some interviews with me up there too. Some people want to know more about me. Go to seriousjoy.social. You will learn about me. You will follow us on all of our social media platforms. And as of this week, we are now on podcast. So we turned this show into an audio podcast, and it's available on Spotify, Stitcher, and also on Apple Podcasts. So Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. Listen to the latest Namaste Today. All right. And with that, I will spend the next 7 or 10 minutes. We went to 2 hours anyways. Me, damn it. Answering questions. So if anyone has a question, I will answer a couple questions here at the end. And I'll take a drink. Oh, thank you. Keeping it moving. I appreciate it. Okay, someone named Corey. Oh, I think we can actually show this. Oh, we can show this? This is cool. Oh, wow, look at that. I'm a Cancer Libra rising. My husband just left me and our 3 daughters with no money and debt. I'm working so hard to provide for my girls. What do you see for me? I feel so lost after 17 years with him. Honestly, Corey, I'm assuming that this is a toxic situation. Any relationship ending for a Cancer right now with Pluto in the high degrees of Capricorn, it's no better time than for it to end now. So I think this is a blessing in disguise. Remember the whole Leo retrograde is for Cancers that self-worth. So be sure to put in time and energy into your self-love by giving yourself time and energy. The more time and energy you give yourself, this is the old classic, put your oxygen mask on first before you put on your kid's mask. And the more you give yourself time and love, the more valuable you're going to feel and the more money you're going to attract. Okay. Who cares about debt? I mean, I know people worry about debt and paying things off, but I'm a Taurus. I think we have great you're always in debt. You always owe someone. You're always paying some money out somewhere. You're never free of debt. It's just a part of life. Death and taxes and debt are just a part of life. Who cares? As long as you are paying a little bit and keeping everyone a little happy, I wouldn't worry about debt. I always tell people, I'm a Taurus though, but it's like, I don't worry about debt. I worry about making more money. I put that energy into making more money. So I don't think you have to worry about debt, especially if you invest in yourself. I mean, you just expressed really what's going on for cancers at large. Your situation is a perfect Cancer situation. With your Libra rising, it's time to really focus on the relationships that work. And with your South Node in Libra in your first house, your ego needs to detach from the idea of failure, detach from any mistakes you made. Forget that. Just work on the relationships that work and put everything else behind you. Okay. Another question. Okay. Looking for questions. When you sign up for Serious Joy membership, does it include the 40 days of joy? Yes, it does. Everything is all inclusive for that price. You get the full 40 days. Of course, we pay monthly. So the first month is $3.99. After that, it's $19.95. So you technically, if you want to quit, you'd pay $19.95 plus $3 for the full 6 weeks if you left. But everything is included for that price. Yes, all of our practitioners, everyone, I'm not just saying this, but everyone tells me I don't charge enough. But we charge what people can afford. It's $5 a week. I figure for a Starbucks a week, we can be your spiritual best friend for $5. My grandma and grandpa used to put $20 a week into the Catholic basket, so I think it's well worth it. Oh, did we miss Scorpio? Did we miss Scorpio? No, no, I did Scorpio. I know I did because I talked about your superpowers, your talent, and your ability to perform. So you'll have to roll this back and watch. Thank you for the super chat, Mary. Thank you again. All right. Thank you for the advice. Looking for other questions. Okay. Can you explain 28-degree Leo? You mentioned it last week. Serious joy, happiness, bliss. Okay. Where Venus is starting its retrograde, 28 degrees Leo is the degree of it's the degree where you are king. So if you want to think about the Lion King, I can't wait to be king. That's 28-degree Leo. That is when you own the kingdom. That is when you have the fireworks. That's when your personal dreams. That is the step number of what I call the golden egg. So when you are 20-degree Leo, you are here to pursue all your greatest joys and everything your heart wants. You probably come from a past life where you did not have everything your heart wanted. And in this life, it has to be all about your heart. It's not about sacrifice anymore. It's about getting everything your heart wishes for. You can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. That's the key, basically. I'll answer 2 more questions. Okay, here's a great question. I'm a Pisces with a Virgo moon and rising. Is there any hope for me to find love? Yes, Charlie, there is. You have to be the love first. So build a life. Now, with your Virgo rising and Virgo moon, you tend to be a bit pessimistic, I guess, or let's say a realist. But the truth of the matter is I think Pisces are setting up for love. But you have to love your body. You have to love your life. And when you are radiating a love for your life and you're radiating a love for your body, you will attract love because you'll be just so adorable and juicy. Everyone will want you. So turn your light on, be happy, live in your heart, and you will attract true love. I'm sure of that. But I will say this, Pisces, pretty much most of their love stories are fated. So I'd look at your natal chart to sort of get an idea for that. Most of your love stories are fated. So usually Pisces have some past life loves that they have to work through, and then they save the best one for last. That's usually what Pisces does. Or Pisces had the best one, they go on to the wrong ones, and they go back to the best one. I know so many Pisces that go back to like a high school love because it was karmic. So Pisces aren't destined to be alone, but they do have long periods of being alone because they have a lot of karma to face and process. One more question. Thank you for your gratitude, Sandra. We appreciate you too. Oh, here we go. This is a good one to end on. I'm a Cappy and Saturn in Pisces got me by surprise. Met a guy, Gemini, and fell madly in love literally on March 7th. Problem is I'm married. Oh, Mina? Well, you're going to have to trust yourself. That's where Cappies are. I think that this Venus retrograde would be you processing the divorce. You can't let true love go by. I know a lot of Capricorns who did that. Jeff Bezos, he did that. His ex-wife got like $5 billion. So that hurt him in the pocketbook. But Capricorns, if you don't, you have to trust yourself, and to trust yourself means you've got to do the right thing and you got to follow your heart. And if your partner really loves you, it's going to hurt, but this Venus retrograde is really a time where people will be breaking up. The South Node in Libra is really a time where people are going to be breaking up and divorcing. So really the timing is right. And the world's going to change so much that in the future, looking back, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It is a big deal. It feels like a horrible deal right now, but we have so much in front of us as a culture coming up that the stuff we deal with right now is not going to be at the front of our minds in about 2 years. So I would say do the necessary work, take the steps necessary, and, follow your heart. That's what I recommend. I think you can do it. And Geminis are wonderful. So, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, everyone. I think that wraps us up. We went 2 hours and 13 minutes. So I made it even longer, but I'm actually I'll just say for the record, moving forward, we are looking for people that we should interview here. I'm probably gonna do a short interview at the end of the show. I'm gonna shorten up some of the astrology, and I'm gonna do an interview at the end of the show. For big interviews, I'm gonna do them in a separate show. But I want to start bringing our community together. I want to start introducing each other to other light workers so that we can all sort of get on the same page. It's time for the new unions of light to happen. And I know one of my roles on Earth is to be a facilitator of that coming together. So if you know someone that is just doing great work in their own field, in the light work industry, tarot, whatever, that you think they're great, you follow them, they're one of your influencers, let us know, let our team know, email us at support@seriousjoy.com. Okay. And with that, I will say, have a wonderful week, folks. Happy Venus retrograde. I love you. Live, love, be.